Welcome to episode 338 of School Librarians United. I'm your host, Amy Herman. This podcast is dedicated to the issues and challenges school librarians face every day. As a school librarian, starting my 19th year, I knew I wanted a podcast which addressed the nuts and bolts of running a successful library program. I don't claim to have the answers, but I hope that this is a platform to share resources and exchange ideas. Now is a perfect time to mention that all the ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast by myself, my interview guests, and listeners who reach out to the podcast are our own and do not reflect those of our school districts. When incorporating research, I always make sure to cite my sources. So whether you are a novice or a veteran school librarian, this podcast has something for you. I welcome you and all listeners to reach out with your feedback and episode suggestions. You can reach me on Facebook, on X, formerly known as Twitter. My handle is at LMS_United. On Threads and Instagram, you can find me at School Librarians United and on BlueSky at SLU Podcast or the email address schoollibrariansunited@gmail.com. If you include your mailing address, I'll be sure to send you a podcast sticker. Friends, it is now my pleasure to introduce the sponsor to our podcast, Junior Library Guild. What if I told you there's a collection development service that can save you time and increase title circulation rates? Junior Library Guild does that and more. With their team of experienced media library specialists and publishing industry professionals, every title they recommend is vetted for my readers and organized into categories based on reading level and interest. Ultimately, Junior Library Guild helps my students foster a love of reading. Use the code UNITED15 to receive 15 free books in your first shipment. And now for today's episode, celebrating school librarian life, and my conversation with Rachel Grover and Stacy Gilbert. Friends, I'm so excited. Rachel Grover and Stacy Gilbert, welcome back to the podcast.
So excited to be back. This is going to be fun.
I am really looking forward to it. Let's go.
So, friends, we've got a dynamic library couple. I am so grateful for the two of you to be here today, and I couldn't think of anybody else I wanted to share this conversation with more. Today's conversation marks your hat trick, your third episode. I met Stacy and Rachel back in October of 2023, so 2 years ago, when I attended your session, AASL 23, Finding Their Space, Helping Students Belong in the Library. And we recorded an episode, very quickly thereafter, episode 250, Helping Students Belong. And at some point, we sort of, in the middle of recording it, said, we actually have 2 episodes here. All right?
Yep.
And
Surprise.
I think in the new year, so a couple months later, we recorded episode 262, Inclusive Programming.
That's right.
That is I can't use the word master class because that is copyrighted, but we could call it a best practices. Friends, I'd love to start a series called Best Practices, and episode 262, Inclusive Programming, is best practices. All right.
Thank you.
So, Rachel and Stacy, thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's do some introductions for listeners who have not met you yet.
So, hi, I'm Stacy. Things you should know about me. I am in my 8th year as a school librarian. Ninth year as a school librarian, 8th year at the same school. My school is grades 7 to 12. It is a middle and high school combined, about 3,200 students. And I'm in a very unique situation where I work on a team of 4 school librarians in the same library. So it brings its own challenges. We do not have an assistant, but we have 4 of us librarians. So we're able to kind of share the load that way, which is really nice. We have a maker space, and we have a skeleton mascot, and what else? We have mini golf going in the library. We have lots of fun stuff happening. I also serve on a few leadership committees for the school, and I sponsor our middle school and high school editions of our LGBTQ plus club. Let's see, what else? I started off as a math teacher for 9 years before moving into the library. So my background is slightly different than most librarians, I would say.
Stacey, I just have to ask you, with your LGBTQIA club, is this one club combined, or you have a separate meeting for your middle school students and a separate meeting for your high school students? Because I could see this going differently depending on the chemistry of the students.
Yeah, they are usually kept separate, mostly because the high schoolers do not want to hang out with middle schoolers after school. There are a few special events that we combine them, but most of the time, the high schoolers want their own space. Thank you very much. So it is most of the time kept separate. The middle school club meets every week, and the high school club meets about once a month.
Okay, fantastic. And Rachel, thank you for joining us again. Please let us know what your school looks like, your library situation.
So my name is Rachel, and I am a middle school librarian. What Stacey didn't tell you is that we're in Northern Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., and so we have Virginia rules, which are fabulous. The reason why they have 4 librarians is Virginia rules say if you have more than 1,000 kids in middle school, you get 2 librarians, and it's the same for high school. So they are counted as middle and high, which is why they get 4. Oh my God, that's too many cooks in the kitchen for me. I am a middle school librarian. I serve grades 7 and 8, and that is enough for me. I have just about 920 students this year. I work primarily with students who their families are very affluent. It is a majority minority school, and we're also an advanced academic placement program, which means that the majority of my students are identified as gifted through our county. I have been there, this is my 12th year, and I have been in education for 19. I started as an elementary teacher, and then I did middle school English for several years, and then I became a librarian. So I am all over library land. The 2 of us actually currently write for the KnowledgeQuest blog for AASL. We have written for actual KnowledgeQuest. We wrote Branching Out about what to do when libraries are closed and how to get reading materials to students. That came out right at the pandemic, which was amazing and terrifying timing. But we also have presented, like you said, at AASL, we've presented at our district level and our state level. So we're very active in library land. I also have won Virginia Librarian of the Year in 2023. I'm also National Board Certified in Library, and I'm adjunct professor at ODU, and I supervise people coming out of their library program, specifically in school libraries. I think that's most of my resume.
Just going to say out loud, and I don't know about you, Stacey, but my ego would have a very hard time working with a partner who is as accomplished, but it would also, forgive me, it would be very hard to work side by side with other school librarians in our space and feel like I am not being, I don't want to say judged, but like when I'm in my space, I make my decisions. Nobody calls me on it. My assistant is a retired math teacher. He is not going to sit there and go, oh, are you sure? I was like, all right, what I say rule. So Stacey, how do you bring your ego into check? You are a power couple. You are a library couple. You know, Rachel, you're really accomplished in ways that I will tell you right now, Stacey, does not suit my skill set whatsoever. I will not be, there is not a single university here who would ever bring me into their employ. Absolutely not. I know where my strengths lie, and it's right here behind the microphone. So Stacey,
yes,
I just have to know, on a daily basis, how have you found ways to collaborate, because you do have the benefit of 3 other certified school librarians in your workspace?
Yeah. So, okay, first I will say it does help that I have basically no ego whatsoever. So that is a selling point. Also, Rachel is a rock star, badass librarian. And so I am so very proud of her. And I am just lucky that I get to come home and talk library with her like every day. So she's wonderful. Everyone follow everything Rachel says. She will never steer you wrong.
Oh, I don't know about that.
When it comes to my team, I do feel very lucky. It is a lot of cooks in the kitchen. However, we specifically have added people to our team who are collaborative, who are looking to work as a team. So there are 2 other schools like ours in our district that have 4 librarians, and every team works a little differently. Ours, we intentionally designed like our dynamic that we are collaborative in everything. We each kind of go to different like content meetings, like all of 7th grade English when they have their meeting, or all of 11th grade science, those teams, whatever your district calls them. We go to different ones, but then when there's a collaboration, some kind of teaching opportunity or some, an opportunity to be an instructional partner, that's where we come together as a team, and we're all of our hands are in those projects, and we all teach those lessons, and we all design those projects so that kind of everyone's voice is accounted for, but also the truth of our world is we are stronger together than we are apart, right? And the more diversity of experience and perspective that you can have, the stronger your end result is going to be. That is a fact of humanity, right? So I feel like we're very lucky that we get 4 voices of certified solid librarians that, we disagree. And like, we're basically like a band of sisters who like, yes, like we get tired of each other. And like, I know when it's time for vacation because, just like, I think everyone is dumb, like that, everyone's face is dumb. And I just need to like go have a few days to sleep and then I'm fine. So like those things happen. But yeah, we are aggressively almost super collaborative so that we do get those like diverse perspectives and ideas, and it always makes our products better. And we know different kids and we work with different like contents and things. So yeah, getting everyone's perspective is always a benefit.
And I'm not going to lie, sometimes when I have questions about my circulation software, I'm going on to, Facebook groups to try and find the answer to the problem. Now, if I had the benefit of sitting in a space that had 3 other certified school librarians, there's a very good chance I would not have to resort to a discussion group on Facebook to solve whatever, destiny problems I have.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of, hey, do you know what's going on with Mayan? Like that kind of situation. And yeah, so it's really nice that I feel like I don't have to know everything, because I can just be like, you need to talk to that other librarian. They will know everything.
Well, and I've got to say also, spending money, I am actually very grateful nobody else is questioning how I spend my money. And I call it my money because I spend the budget. My assistant does not. So that would be an interesting thing to see how 4 people who have strong opinions about collection development prioritize. And those might be some really interesting conversations.
Yeah, we do have to have, kind of our yearly conversations about what our priorities for the year are, but also our district. And so Rachel and I are in the same district, though very different schools and different ends of the district as well. So, she has the affluent, gifted kids. I have a range, but it tends more middle of the road. Yeah, like not a majority of anything. I mean, any demographic we have less than 30% of, no matter what kind of, demographic you're talking about. So it is a wide range of perspectives and experiences there. So even though we're in the same district, our schools are very different, but some of the things, because of the same district, are the same, like our money. The money for books, only books, is centrally distributed, and it's a formula based on how many students are in your school. So it works.
It's amazing.
So it works out to be.
What is your per capita? Is it based on how many students you support?
Yeah. So it's a little over $10 per kid. That is central. No principal can touch it. Like it is designated just for books. So if you do the math, I have about 3,200 students. Right?
Wow.
Okay, do the math.
Okay.
So let's just say it's plenty of money for the 4 of us to get exactly what, we are dreaming of adding to our collection. So that helps. If the budget was more limited, I'm sure there would be more bloodletting. when it came to those budget conversations.
No, this had to have come out when we talked 2 years ago. But for people who are listening, tuning in, for people who are nimble and spry and are ready to find a new place to call home, I think this came up before. Virginia sounds like a great place for school librarians to work. Am I right?
In theory.
Yeah.
Now, I will say,
you got to pick the right spot.
Okay.
Yes.
But yes, it is.
The Virginia rule for just how many librarians to have, excellent. Yes, anywhere in Virginia has that rule. Some of the rules that are district decided are things like funding. So some of the districts...
that's not Virginia at all.
Yeah. So our district distributes the money centrally. So it's great. Highly recommend our district for librarians. But even just districts, one over are in a much different place when it comes to that stuff. So...
But when it comes to staffing, do you feel that Virginia has done a really good job of making sure there are certified school librarians in your school libraries?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I will also say that even though it's in the Code of Virginia that everybody should have an assistant, that's not always the way. Stacy's school doesn't have an assistant. I don't have an assistant. I'm by myself, which is a blessing and a curse. But I also have, because of the area I'm in, I have a wealth of parent volunteers that help me. It's a different level of delegation and figuring out what's in my wheelhouse and what I can wait for somebody else to do. But one county over, they have assistants, but they don't have centrally funded money. So you really kind of have to pick and choose which one is more worth it to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's somebody who worked with parents, my first library for 7 years, I had no assistant and I absolutely relied on parents. And it was fun because there were parents who came with different strengths. And there are parents who came with things that they like to do. And it was like, you really capitalize on those and realize that parents, when they get to do something that they find joy and they find fun, all of a sudden they're going to run with that. And your job just becomes incrementally easier. Absolutely.
That's right.
I am so grateful. We've been able to connect tonight. I had an idea for an episode conversation and I was thinking the two of you have such a fantastic chemistry. I've told listeners many times before, if I could have talked about my day to my partner, we wouldn't need a podcast. I created the podcast because I desperately needed a community of people who could readily identify with the kind of day I was having. I was navigating a very difficult set of circumstances in my job situation, and I wasn't going to be able to change it anytime soon. So I am very happy for the two of you and very grateful that you're here for us as well. And I'm going to say, before we do anything else, we're going to see each other in a month.
Yes.
In St. Louis.
Yes.
So excited for you two, and just a little jealous. You have not one, but two presentations that you are giving. Let's have each of you tell us a little bit about each of you can pick a session you want to brag about, because while I'm hoping to attend them, I know listeners will be very excited if you care to share one of those, perhaps in 2026 when we can all tap your expertise again.
I get to go first. Okay.
Go for it.
There was pointing happening. So they haven't released the schedule as of this recording, but we have two different sessions that were accepted for presenting, which I am stoked about. We are presenting one on Friday and one on Saturday. I have no idea which is which, but one of the sessions that we are presenting is passive programming at the secondary level. So some things that are really easy to do that teenagers actually like, that are definitely successful in our spaces. And it's just going to be kind of like a fire hose of ideas. And we've presented this before at, I think, the district level. And we kind of started by saying, if you get one of these ideas, then that's all that we really care about. So it's a wealth of ideas that, depending on where you are in your readiness and your, budget and whatever, that you can maybe pick something that will enhance your space. So it's all about passive programming and how you do it and just ideas that maybe you haven't thought of before.
And I ended up in a place where we as the librarians got just dumped kind of like the professional development responsibility. And so I had to do a very quick tutorial for myself of what should that look like and how can we make this good. Well, yeah, it'll be sharing thoughts about that process and from our presenting in the past, how do you do that for other librarians as well, especially in a conference setting? Every librarian has something that they can share from their practice that would benefit others. But maybe you don't know how to do it, or you're not sure exactly what to say or how to frame it, or, what that's going to look like. And so the session will also help in some of that. How do you take your experience and talk about it in a conference setting as well for PD for librarians?
Love it. So many of us, whether we've been tapped to do this or we've recognized, certainly in my set of circumstances, I've realized that when I provide PD, I am satisfying one of the primary expectations because I'm an instructional specialist. If I look at my job description when I was hired, I'm an information research technology specialist, and my evaluation that I do, my Charlotte Danielson evaluation tool, is not for school librarian. I'm an instructional specialist. And so when we have district PD, and our teachers are asked to think of something you want to teach your peers. It's funny because my colleagues, who are all teachers, sort of scoff, and they're like, why would we do work? It's election day, And I'm like, oh, I'm teaching all of those sessions. Like, I will absolutely be doing that. Number one, I'm an instructional specialist. It is part of my job description. And number two, it's my opportunity to remind everybody who's in charge what I'm able to do when tasked with that. I will step up. I will absolutely step up. It is self-preservation at its core.
Yep,
so,
that's right.
Yeah, I have no problem accepting that sort of opportunity as a way to showcase what we do, whether it's in front of our students or it's in front of our staff. I am here to support. So I love that. Today we're going to talk about really what I want to celebrate us as the professionals that we are in our building. I don't want to forget the fact that, not every day is a great day. I had a great day today. I don't know about y'all, but I had a great day today. But I also want to provide some context because it isn't always sunshine and rainbows. And sometimes it really is just work. And sometimes coming home, it really is just work. At the end of the day, we get a paycheck to do this. And I don't like to dwell on the negative, but I do want to provide for our listeners sometimes what a bad day looks like, because I'm hoping that we spend the rest of the conversation talking about how much we love what we do. I will share, just because we're going into testing season, really, for me, what defines a bad day is when I'm taken out of the space I should be in. When I'm plucked out of my library to administer standardized tests to our students who are already miserable when it comes to the, you're not going to win any prizes here. Anytime you've taken me out of the place that I love the most, which is my Learning Commons, and asked me to do other duties as assigned, whether it's hall duty, it just, you name it. And it really does remind me that ultimately at the end of the day, I really just want to go and be in my space, be in my library where I can be happy and feel like my services are being utilized the way they should be. But let's go ahead. Rachel, you want to start us off? What
Sure.
is it that really sometimes just work, but what does that day look like?
A bad day for me. So I have to preface with this. I have been a solo librarian. This is my second year. Before that, I had a co-librarian because I had more than 1,000 kids in my school, and now we have 900 and change. And so I am still kind of settling into this idea of being a solo librarian. And this year, I'm really trying to remember that no one is coming to save me. I am my savior, and sometimes I have to be the one to draw the line. And when I feel like I cannot save myself, that is a bad day. When I just cannot give any more and I haven't even opened my email that day, when I cannot even give myself a chance to take some water because I am so completely busy with everything, that is a bad day. Because I know that I can save myself in ways like I can take just a few minutes and get some water and breathe and maybe put some books, on the empty display easels. Totally get it. Just like a minute to just take a breath between things. But those days that just go and go and go and go. Maybe it's classes back to back and I don't even get a chance to check in books. Or maybe it's I have a class first and then I have a meeting and then I have kids come in for lunch, which I absolutely love. But then I don't get a chance to have lunch. And then we have learning seminar at the end of the day and I have 50 kids in the library. And then I have an after school club. Those days that just do not end. And I call Stacy on the way home and I'm like, we have to order out because I don't even think I can make dinner. Like those days that are just so completely draining for me that no one has come to save me. And I am physically and emotionally drained. And those are the days for me, honestly, that are the worst days because especially at the end, that's when my patience goes. That's when my negative outlook shows up because I cannot physically give anything else because the demands are too high.
Oh my goodness. I'm just so glad that we're going to get this part of the conversation out of the way because I'm getting anxious just listen. I'm listening to it because, and I when I'm listening to you and for me, it reminds me when we are aware that we are being compromised. That what we can give is being compromised because I know what it's like to work with an assistant. I know what it's like to have a dedicated lunch where I actually leave my library because I have, that being said, but I know that when you are hit with the awareness that what you can give to your students right now is not your best, it is compromised, and it's not for a lack of trying. It's because you just don't have the resources that the extra person, you don't have you know what it's like to work with a second librarian. You know what it's like when you have another person there and now you don't. And it's that reminder that your kids deserve better. And it's not because you aren't giving them all that you've got. It's that you're one person. And that's exactly right. That's so, and again, this is why I have this conversation with you two and not with my lovely family downstairs at dinner, because they're going to sit there and just quietly let mom get this out because she'll be much more pleasant after she gets it out of her system. I roll, and glad that's over. All right. How about you, Stacy? I have to imagine in this situation where you have these three other certified school librarians, I can't imagine a bad day. I really can't. How could you possibly have a bad day?
I love that.
Let's tell what your bad day looks like. And we're going to really try to feel bad for you.
Yeah. I feel like I'm really being set up for success here. Okay. So for me, the worst days are when the disrespect is high by adults, not kids. The kids are kids and teenagers are teenagers. And sometimes they have a little bit of an attitude, but they're teenagers. It gets to be a bad day when it seems like a barrage from the adults who are supposed to be our colleagues. And it just seems like a steady stream of disrespect, right? So in our district, the week before the students start school is what we call Teacher Week. It is the week that all the teachers report, and it's the meetings and the set up your classroom and all of those things. It's the entire week before kids show up. And that is by far my least favorite week in the entire school year.
Amen.
It is the hardest because it feels like a constant barrage of messages from adults that they think we don't do anything. They think that our job isn't as important as, but we need we need you to, yes, leave the library and monitor the cafeteria for every lunch period every day. It's those things, right? Sorry. Well, I mean, there's 4 of you, so it's fine, right? It's like, well, no, you don't understand. There's 4 of us because 3 of us are teaching during a period, and since we don't have an assistant, one of us has to be available for, if there's an emergency, right? We have to work the desk and have to check in books and check out books, those kinds of things. And so that feeling of no one thinks we do anything, and thinks that they can just shove things on us. Also, it gets to me when adults just kind of enter into our space and no one bothered to warn us, we're here to set up for the luncheon this afternoon that the library is going to have to be closed for. And no one told us that was going to be happening. Or we have a meeting in here, but they didn't tell me, and I need to keep the space safe for my LGBTQ plus club, and that I need to protect anonymity there. Those kinds of things that it's just, it's the outside when it seems like we are the easy dumping ground because they just assume, well, we're not busy. It feels like they just assume that we are not busy and not doing anything, so might as well just shove them in the library kind of situation.
So now we can do a hard pivot. Hard pivot. Hard pivot. That's right. Pivot. Yes. Ross Geller with the bed.
Yes.
Going around the stairs. Pivot.
That's right. Pivot.
Let's go ahead. And, but I think it's important because all of these things are identifiable on some scale. On some scale, we've had to deal with each of these issues. Absolutely. It's that relatability which makes these conversations so helpful, because it's not unusual for me to hear about and connect with people who feel so alone, and yet this kind of airing of our grievances is not a bad thing, because it really does give our listening audience an awareness for the reality that we can be on our game and have a great day, and we're going to focus on that. But there's also an aspect of our job that, boy, we wish we could change, for sure. For sure. All right. So, friends, I was driving home, and you do that debrief in the car. You're sort of doing that autopsy of the day. You're like, so what was this day like? It really was nonstop. It really never stopped. The whole day was just a blur. And I'm trying to break it down. And I was like, it was a great day. And I was like, why am I feeling so good about this day? Friends, I'm not going to lie. I don't check out many books. Okay? I don't have a vibrant reading culture. It's something that I'm desperately working on. And when I first got my job, the average age of my collection was 2002. I had approximately 4,000 books and a budget. Well, there was one, I think you guys all know, I've had a series of multiple administrators. And at one point, there was one person who was in the job for 1 year. They were in the job for 1 year. And I was told that I was not getting any budget because, and this is true, they said, you're a study hall. Study halls don't need budgets. I am working from a place of anything I do is going to be a win when I build that reading culture. And I was like, I had a fantastic day. I was going home with this ridiculous smile on my face and feeling really valued as an important member of my staff. And I'm like, why? And I will tell you why. And my day was absolutely made at lunch. And we have 3 lunches, and usually one of those lunches, I go outside. I have a therapy dog with me, and my therapy dog likes to go out and run in the courtyard and to be with the kids, especially because a lot of that contact with those students just reminds them, hey, we have a therapy dog in the Learning Commons, and my dog is actually part of our crisis management team, and our students have come to see her when things go sideways.
Nice.
But I had a great day at school today. And it had nothing to do with books. It had nothing to do with me teaching. And it had everything to do with one student. At lunch, she came up to me during her lunch, and she was very, very distressed. And she's one of my new students. She's a brand new 11th grade student. Could you imagine coming to a school as an 11th grader? 11th grader. And I'm sitting there as a detective, and I'm trying to, I want to be that listener. And I want to hear what this person is trying to say to me because she is on the brink of tears. She's very upset. And she's looking at her Chromebook. And my detective skills quickly ascertained the problem. There are so many tabs open on her little school-issued Chromebook that all you can see is the little favicon. You can't even see what the tab says. You just see that's a doc, that's a slide, that's a canvas, that's a doc, that's a slide, that's canvas, doc, slide, website. And I was sitting there, I'm watching this, and she's not able to form the words. And she's like, I have to put some pictures on my phone on a slide. And as I was starting to talk with her, it became glaringly apparent she didn't even know how to use the Chromebook. And I was like, I looked at it and she didn't want, and you know what? You could tell she didn't want to get rid of any of those tabs because I could see it represented everything she had clicked on for first hour, second hour, and third hour. And I was like, oh my God, she doesn't know how to use a Chromebook. She doesn't know how to use Google Chrome. Oh my God, she doesn't know how to use a touchpad. I said, I'm going to go get you a mouse. Would that help? She's like, yeah, I don't, she didn't even know what to use on her computer to access what she needed. I said, let's get you a mouse, okay? And then I clicked on one thing. She goes, I need to add pictures, and here's my assignment. I don't know where to put a link. And it became glaringly apparent that this 11th grader had never used a Chromebook, had never used Canvas, had never used Google Slide, a Google Doc, did not know what Google Drive was. And when I opened up Google Drive, her eyes were like, wait, that's all my stuff. You mean it doesn't go away?
Aww.
And this poor thing, I swear to God, and at this point, the tears.
Right?
And I had to go, I went into my office, I got the good Kleenex, because friends, but the Kleenex boxes that they provide for us in our school, now I don't pay for them. They're provided by the school. We call it like tree bark. It's,
yes.
The Kleenex is, it's like the tissue from COVID. Like, remember when there was toilet paper shortages and we had to get whatever we could buy on the internet?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like tree bark. I went to my office and I got her the good Kleenex box from my office because the tears were coming. And I realized this poor sweet girl, this 11th grader, was in every single class where all of our students have been handed Chromebooks since they were in 6th grade. They've been using Chrome. They've been using Google Slides. They've been using Google Docs. They've been using Canvas since 6th grade. And so here she is as an 11th grader feeling absolutely drowning. And I looked at her, I said, have you eaten anything today? And she looked at me, she goes, no, how did you know? And I said, I know you're here at lunch. I said, you didn't eat anything for breakfast either, did you? She said, no. So I'm going back into my office. I grab her the yogurt. I got cookies. I grabbed her my shoebox full of candy that I hand out to kids. I'm like, we need to get some food in you right now. And I started rating some of the food in my office. And we sat down and I quickly got an email off to the teacher she was going to be late for because she was there with me during lunch. And I just quickly sent out an email to the teacher that says, I will send the student in 5 minutes. They are eating the first meal they've had all day. They're doing some work for your class. They'll be in there in just a minute. And I said, do I have your permission to reach out to your teachers and tell them what we've learned today? That you need help using your computer. And this is new. All of this is new. And she's nodding her head, and she's nodding her head. And so we get her, she's eating. We've got a couple pictures on her Google slide, and I send her with a pass and the nice Kleenex to her 4th hour. And I quickly pull her up in my MyStar, in my student portal, and I pull up not only, and I reach out, I'm writing an email, a master email to the administrator in charge of that letter of the alphabet, her counselor, all 6 of her teachers, and her advisory teacher. And as the librarian in this situation, I feel it is incumbent on me to give these teachers what I have learned, because they have no idea just how lost and behind and terribly upset that the first 3 or 4 weeks of school have been for the student. We went back to school on the student started on the 22nd of August. And here we are, the 23rd of September. This poor sweet soul has no idea how to do anything. And forgive me, but I didn't get a sense that she had been given any sort of support from her teacher. I don't think her teachers would have even known. And I sent that email, and I had this feeling of I was filled with this sense of purpose. Like, my day today was not about checking out books. My day today was not about fixing the copy machine or writing bathroom passes to my students. Or, I'm now the online coordinator, so checking in with my online kids and making sure they're on track and doing well. Today, my day was defined by the work that I did with this one student. And I now have 9 people, including my assistant principal, my counselor, and 7 teachers who were made aware of a situation they had no idea was in their class every single day.
Yep.
I was like, that's what I do. That's one of the many things. That's what I do. And I said, I need to somehow find a way to celebrate. Sometimes what we do does not fit into a nice category or responsibilities, my responsibilities for what I provide to the school, because I don't think any of those people could have known they were going to find out about this from me. and that was my day. And I came home with this ridiculous smile on my face. And the only thing that was going to make this day better was the fact that when I reached out to these 2 amazing school librarians, they said, hey, let's talk about it tonight.
Surprise!
Yay! So please take turns. Tell me, what does a good day look like for you?
Let's just start with the fact that you're amazing.
Yes. Awesome, Amy.
I just said in my last thing, I preserve myself because no one's coming to save me. And you came and saved her. You saved her. She was in the ocean of sorrows, and you plucked her out and gave her a life vest and a life preserver of sugar and carbs. And that was what she needed, and a little bit of how to function in life. And, that's what we do as librarians. And for me, it segues nicely into what a great day is for me, because I have an upcoming blog post. Stay tuned, because I think it's going to be my next one for KnowledgeQuest, is we're the third space. There's so many things that librarians do that no one else in the building can do or has time to do. And Stacey and I were talking about this before we recorded. And I said, one of a great day for me in general is when I have taken all of the time to instill training in children. I do 60-minute orientations for both 7th and 8th. It is a slog. It is 5 weeks long. And oh boy, am I tired at the end. But you know what? My library runs like cake after that. It is just glorious to see that all of the things that I have intentionally set up are actually working oh my God, they actually like listened and look at this place run, you know? And it's like, they know how to sign in for lunch. They know what to do when they come for learning seminar. My library is crazy busy in the morning when I can, you know, hang around with kids and see that like all the things I have intentionally worked on and thought about, and how are kids going to be able to work with this, and where are the barriers and how can I make it better? Like all of that deep thinking. And then you see it actually happen. And it's like, oh my God, like that is the great day for me. That it's like all of that deep thinking is actually making a difference for our kids. That is the great day for me.
And you've empowered your kids. I mean, I think that's what's right. You're unleashing some of that responsibility and agency onto your students, and trust. There's trust that they're going to use it well.
That's right.
Fantastic.
But that's a great day for me. This like the system is working, and you know, they want to be here. The things that I am offering are things that actually teenagers want to do, and they're doing it well, and like they want to be here. Well, sure, we'll take it 100 days or 180, I guess.
There you go.
How about you, Stacy? What does your great day look like?
Well, I feel like, well, first I want to piggyback on Rachel. Yes, go, Amy, go. That is awesome that you were there for that kid today. And that is exactly what she needed. And I feel like my great days kind of fall into that kind of a similar category. Like, you know, when I was just a lowly high school math teacher, and my wife was coming home from her library job, and I'm sitting there grading trig proofs while she's talking about how wonderful of a day she had, and all the people who she helped, and all the people that their day was better because of something she did or something she was able to find for them or whatever. You know, I was getting real bitter at those trig proofs.
Sorry.
So that's when I figured out, like, oh, I think I need to go to library school and be one of those people, right? I love that our job is so far reaching that really it's about helping kids be who they're going to be, period. In every aspect and variation that you can think of. Because our school is 7 to 12, I get to see the kids for 6 years, and 6 years of massive growth, right? I mean, they come in as 12-year-olds and they leave as, hopefully, fingers crossed, functional members of society, right? And so my best days are the days where I get to feel that, you know, positive impact on who they are going to get to be, and seeing that growth in them and getting to be a positive part of who they're going to become, right? Because we all have those middle school and high school memories that stick with us. Plenty of bad ones, but hopefully also some good ones in the mix. And I love getting to be one of those positive pieces that gets to be part of them, right? I have a crew of kids that during COVID, when everything was shut down and everything was on Zoom, right? I was doing a book club. And so there was a kind of core group of 7th graders at the time that were coming to book club with me. And like, that was the only kid interaction I got during that time, because trying to get them to turn off their cameras was a disaster, right? But for this, they would turn on their cameras and they would interact and engage with me. And those kids are now seniors. And so that crew, I have gotten to see every aspect. And some of those kids still come into the library when they're in crisis. And I have talked them down from anything from, you know, their boyfriend or girlfriend broke up with them, everything to my parents are getting divorced. My best friend has an eating disorder, right? Like the whole range of kind of teenage experience, and getting to be part of their lives. I feel a massive sense of privilege that I get to do that and get to be a positive kind of force in their growing up. So yeah, my best days are those days where I get to really feel that effect that, like, yes, I have somehow made you get closer to the person that you're going to end up being. And when I get to see that even those little seeds that have been planted, like some of them are taking root, some of them are there. And it's just so great to get to see that.
I'm so glad that you're both available for tonight's conversation. I think it's fair to say that most of us would consider ourselves planners. We like to anticipate and prepare for all types of possibilities, but sometimes our days can go off the rails more than once a day. How do you care for yourself and your needs when so much of our day can be best described as chaotic? And I'll offer up right now, my day goes sideways so often that I do feel the need to document what I do, because I was discovering when I did my job that I was exhausted at the end of the day. But if you had asked me what it is I did that day, I was so brain tired. And I had been assaulted with so much people coming at me with questions. It was all questions, requests. Everybody had questions. Everybody had requests. Everybody was needing something from me. Amy, you know everything. What do I do about this? And so I started keeping track. And it's nothing elaborate. And I did so at a time when I was concerned about the future of my job and my job security. So I just kept a spreadsheet. And I have different categories. And, friends, I can include some sort of, basic screenshot for you in the show notes. But it involves, who am I sharing resources with? Who am I collaborating with? What kind of tech support am I offering? What kind of hosting am I doing of spaces? And friends, I'm a high school librarian, and this would have looked very different when I taught elementary and I had a fixed schedule. Because when I taught elementary and a fixed schedule, nobody asked me how I spent my day, because my day was blocked out for me, and I taught 6 classes a day, and nobody was wondering what I did, because they could look at the schedule and say, we know exactly what she's doing every single hour of the day. But when you teach a flexible schedule, at some point somebody may call into question what it is you do every day. And for my sanity, I truly needed to document just briefly. I indicated who I helped, what resources sometimes I'd include a link, say, hey, this is what we did. I taught this class, just so that at a glance, I know at the end of the day, I've been able to involve all different kinds of aspects of what I do in supporting my building. And it doesn't leave any questions as to what I do every day. Rather than call upon my memory, which at the end of the day, there's not much left of it. Yes, it is. Yes. So Rachel, let me ask you, what is it that you have done to take care of yourself when our job is so involved?
Sometimes nothing. Sometimes it is a phone call home and says, pick your favorite takeout, because I am not doing anything except crumbling onto the couch, and maybe we'll get through an episode of British Bake Off, but not guaranteed. Like not at all. Like sometimes I'm just so drained that that's it. But especially at the end of last year, I got really good with documenting what I do in 2 different ways. One, I do not have a calendar. I used Library Track for a while, but then our district had problems with Library Track, so I created my own calendar in Google Sheets that is in my email signature, and it is shared with my entire staff. So everyone they can't do anything about it, but they can see when I'm available and what I'm doing. Now, the best part about that is when I got towards the end of the year, I was visiting elementary schools as well, because I like to, talk to our feeders. And I had to put those in too, because I wasn't in the building quite a bit. But I was also adding things, Amy, like when was I doing repairs? When was I doing check-ins? When did I have Zoom meetings? When did I have, I was cleaning out our makerspace. When was I planning for next year? So all of a sudden, my days looked very full because they were very full. I didn't want people being like, you're not doing anything. It's the last 2 weeks of school. So you have a blank schedule. So can you come do X, Y, and Z? Absolutely not. So I started putting literally everything on the calendar. Tomorrow, my day is full. Like from the time I show up until after school, it is full. And unfortunately, it's with every single thing that is good, but I know that I'm going to really need to build in time for myself. So with that, I am trying to make sure that I have time to do things for me. I put my favorite candies in the bottom of my desk so that sometimes I just need a thin caramel. You know what I mean? I just need one. If I remember to have lunch that day, I get a caramel at the end. Something that I really did for myself last year was I bought myself a cute little journal. If you haven't been to Barnes & Noble or some bookstore or whatever it is, get yourself a line journal or bulleted journal or whatever it is. And I started every day at the end of the day, when I remember, I will write down 3 really good things that happened that day. And I make sure I focus on the positive, like so-and-so actually returned his 12 books, or I actually cleaned up the makerspace today, or I had a really good meeting with X, Y, and Z. And so by the end of the year, Amy, now I only did it for like the last quarter, but by the end of the year, I could flip through and see all of the really good things I had done. And it came out of a meeting that I had with my therapist, who I use quite a bit for school stuff. And I was like, I don't see the good that I'm doing. And she was like, well, you need to prove it to yourself. And so I started keeping track. I have not been good about it this year, but it is really good to be able to really think about, like, what are these 3 things? So for you, that interaction with that student could have been one of those things, but maybe you had 2 other things. Like a lot of times it was like, there was beautiful weather today, or I wore a new shirt and it got complimented. You know, like just those little things. It doesn't have to be library related, but like just 3 things that kind of made my day. Like I remembered to actually include a fork in my lunch today. Well done, Rachel. You know, like sometimes we need those little bitty wins, but to take care of myself, sometimes I'm such an extrovert and I love hanging out with kids, but sometimes I just need adult conversation. So sometimes I'll put a sign on the door and close the library, and I will go find a friend on staff who I know, like, I'll make sure they're not teaching or anything, and just shoot the breeze for like 10 minutes. I have to remember that I'm human sometimes, you know, that I am not my job. And sometimes that is what really fulfills me to keep going, is to, you know, take care of myself in the ways that, like I said, nobody's coming to save me. And so no one is going to come and remind me to drink water. So if I can do little things like you can have a caramel if you remember to eat today, I'm going to do it because that's what my brain responds to is I love caramels. You really have to be intentional about taking care of yourself, but in ways that make sense to you.
I'm going to call out my friend who does this, but I am aware that a friend of mine will actually sometimes need to get some air and go outside. And when it's their lunch, we'll actually walk around the campus or and not just the parking lot. Get some distance between you and the school. Just go walk in a direction and then hairpin and come back. And I'm very spoiled because I have my therapy dog. We tend to go out. I call it recess. We go out into a courtyard. We have that. Yep, we go into the courtyard and I'm in the fresh air. I'm in the sunshine and the fresh air, and it's lovely because these days won't last forever. And I'm just walking and I'm in the sunshine, and I've gotten some space from the immediacy of my library. How about you, Stacy? What is it that keeps you grounded, keeps you centered, and allows you to make sure that you're taking care of yourself?
My school has been through a lot the past couple of years, and I won't go into details, but there's been a lot of, for lack of a better word, just chaos, just things happening that there's no way we could have foreseen, and you just kind of got to roll with it. And if you know, you know, sometimes our lives provide us opportunities to develop trauma responses, and sometimes those trauma responses can be helpful in certain situations. And so my particular trauma responses do really help in those kind of chaotic moments, right? When something just left field comes and there's no way you could have prepared for it. So how I keep myself sane in those times is that, you know, it's what's my next step, right? What's the Like, I can't see the full trajectory right now. I don't even know what's happening 5 minutes from now, but I can figure out what I need to do right now. So, very kind of short-sighted, right? Like immediate things. And then when I get home, I crumble and cry to my wife. Let's be perfectly honest. That's what happens.
It's okay.
So a strong support system, I think, is the moral of that story. Also, I mean, there have been some building issues that crews have been kind of through our building, and they'll come through after school hours. And so you'll come in the next school day to just chaos. I mean, things disheveled, things missing, things, a whole host of issues. So fun. But I exactly, right? With just some deep breathing, there's a little bit of kind of anxiety management of kind of like having to separate myself, right? Like all night, I can't be worried about what if someone came into my library and there's things going to be missing tomorrow morning. Even though that is a very real possibility, but when I'm not there, I can't be worrying about it. So having to find ways to kind of debrief, decompress, get my mind onto something else, enjoy time being home, and finding things that I love and help ground me in home. And then when I get to school, I can deal with whatever has happened in my absence, and in our absence as a team. But yeah, just as much as I can, like I said, grounding myself in home and like where I am presently, and future me can deal with future things.
I feel like we should be putting together a playlist of music that you could play in the car when you feel like hitting or screaming and you can't. Because professionally, we are professionals, and you do not scream and yell at people, and you do not hit or kick people. So you could get in your car where you're not going to do any damage, and you can listen to this. You can listen to this playlist, because what you really want to do is vent to what you really want to do is say what you really think about this person, or express yourself in the most honest of terms. And you will jeopardize your job.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, there are some soundtracks out there. I'm thinking, any of you seen Six the Musical?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. There's some angry songs in Six the Musical. And I'll tell you what, there was some times I really just needed to belt out there was a little bit of rage, a little bit of fury. I don't know. I feel absolutely comfortable singing at the top of my lungs in my car, driving, 75 miles per hour down the road. Nobody's going to hear me or see me. I don't care.
Right. Well,
also, that is a really healthy thing to do. You really don't want to keep it bottled in. So whatever is really best for you, sometimes I just need a little Linkin Park in my life. It'll just kind of age me, but sometimes Linkin Park is just what I need. But the other thing that, yes, I completely agree about the anger, but in the moment when I really just need a second, and I'll be very, straightforward. I have generalized anxiety disorder, and my anxiety is present in my life. I am well taken care of. I'm managed by a lot of healthcare professionals. However, just to put a little plug in there is an app. If you don't have it, it's called Headspace. And Headspace, if you sign up with a .edu email address, it's free. And they will give you a whole bunch of different resources. And one of the things I love most, and they change it up every day, and they'll check in on you if you enable your notifications, is there is just a daily breathing. And you can decide if it's a minute or 5 minutes. There's meditation. There's background things. They have great clinical people. I am not a sponsor from them, but I find that when I have 5 to 10 minutes between classes, I actually go to my Headspace app and I breathe. Or I watch a quick podcast about imposter syndrome, or I watch about how to manage your anxiety. So mental health is a real thing. And sometimes we all just need to release some anger, because if not, it will come out sideways in a way that none of us want.
And also, just throwing out there, I know that I have the complete vibes of the mom from Monsters University. For any listeners who have seen the movie, there is the mom of the like frat house and there's one scene where she is the driver and she says, I'm going to listen to my tunes. And then she turns on, it's like death metal. And that is 100% my vibe. And so, yeah, I have my like angry music. I just introduced Rachel today to Break Stuff by Limp Bizkit. It was like, what a
I've
great,
never heard it before.
Angry song, right?
Oh yeah, I'm going to add it to my playlist.
It is a great song for the playlist. I completely understand. Like music is 100% my outlet for my rage. So, we got to do something so we don't lose our jobs.
Might need to be a listener crowdsourced thing because I think we could all benefit from that.
Yes. Yeah, friends, we're going to start that on BlueSky after we end this recording. I will say, I'm sure there's one of these in your neighborhood. Do you not have rage rooms? Rage rooms where you can go shatter things? So there are in certain metropolitan areas rage rooms where they simply put like protective goggles on you, and then they give you a sledgehammer, and then you start to break things like, imagine all of the appliances you could buy for $1 at the, Salvation Army. Imagine all of the plates and glassware or, things that you can absolutely destroy in a rage room. I will bring it back to something a little more productive. It is remarkable how forgiving my garden is if I need to work through some frustration. My garden is so pretty that our daughter, who is getting married next summer, has asked if she can get married in the backyard.
Oh, that's amazing.
That will be awesome.
So,
well done.
So I will say that when it comes to taking my frustration, I sometimes need to see something come out of it. I need to see the fruits of my labor. And so working in my garden, in regardless of the frame of mind, that is my medication. That is my meditation. That is how I work through, whether it's personal issues or work related. But I can see what I have done and realize that was the best use of my energy right now, because maybe I wasn't going to be in a good place to have a conversation with anybody. Maybe I just need to work through some of this, but I need to see it. And I know that some of us are crafty. Some of us create things. We sew, we, generate things. We make things. There are scrapbookers out there, but at the end of the day, you have something that reminds you that every day we've got to be there for our students and for our staff. And we also have to be there for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I wrote a blog for KnowledgeQuest about one of the things I did was I got back into playing violin because I had played all through school. I went to a specialty arts high school for violin, and then I finished high school and never picked up my violin again. And it sat in a closet until last year, when there was I just happened upon an opportunity for kind of an adult orchestra of all skill levels. And so I was like, hey, I'll try. And I barely remembered how to hold my instrument anymore. And I've had to completely relearn, but it has given me such joy to have something else, something that I could focus on for myself that I enjoy, that is a part of me and not a part of me as a librarian necessarily. And so, yeah, anything that we can do, creative outlets are just as useful and sometimes more useful than destructive impulses, though they may be fun.
Let me just say, this has been just an absolute joy. I'm so grateful that we can pick up our conversation in a couple weeks when we rendezvous in St. Louis. Yeah, and you know what, friends? We are going to put your social media in the show notes. Our listeners are experts at visiting the show notes. Given that both of you write, you may want to include some of your articles in our show notes. And friends, I invite you to listen to our previous 2 conversations, because you'll see exactly why when it came to having tonight's conversation, I knew that this dynamic was one that I think we could all find to be productive and affirming, because of the work we do is so important. Stacy, Rachel, I'm going to see you in a couple weeks. I can't thank you enough. And thank you so much for joining us today. You are both an inspiration. I'm grateful for our profession. Our profession is better because the two of you. And Rachel, thank you for getting Stacy to become a school librarian because my God, that's amazing. Could you imagine? Because no offense, I'm sure you'd be a fantastic math teacher. But boy, I'll tell you, your school is so lucky to have you.
Yes.
And friends,
Thank you.
You know what? Let's make sure if you are going to be in St. Louis, friends, look up these two dynamos. They are fantastic. We are going to bookmark those sessions, and I'm so excited to be able to see you. And friends, if you aren't going to be in St. Louis, guess what? There's a good possibility that Stacy and Rachel are going to come back for a fourth show sometime after, perhaps in 2026. We're going to have to just share one of those presentations with our listeners, if not both. All right, friends, thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. Rachel, Stacy, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
I am so glad that we got to get back together. Always a pleasure, Amy. Thank you.
Have a good night. Friends, if you found this episode helpful, please share it out with your team, your PLN, and on social media. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcatcher so you'll never miss an episode. And if you really like listening today, consider leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Reviews help others find us. If you're curious to know how often your state or country has been featured on the podcast, simply click on the link, which can be found in our show notes. Search by title, author, state, and country, and do a Command F search. I hope this is the year that you consider being a guest on the show. Please visit the FAQs in every episode, and you'll realize just how easy it is. We all have something to share. Make Season 8 your time to shine. I hope you take a look at the link to Junior Library Guild in our show notes. Use the code UNITED15 and receive 15 free books with your first shipment. I am currently juggling several outlines and tentative recording dates. You can be sure our upcoming episode will showcase amazing school librarians sharing their strategies and resources. I hope you will tune in.